Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. Free. This is the D. Free.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D.
Brief.
All right, welcome to the podcast. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I am Mike Jeter.
And today we are talking about all the concerts, comedy, movies, plays, and everything that's going on in the arts and entertainment scene in Detroit for the week of November 20th, 2017.
All of that stuff, man.
How you doing, Mike?
Man, I'm fantabulous.
This is Thanksgiving week.
Come on.
What are you thankful for this year?
I'm thankful for you, Seth.
Aww.
See how I did that? That's how you placate
Aww.
to your podcast mate.
Look, we're very excited about today's show. We've got Steve Johnson. He's the founder and owner of Motor City Brew Tours on the show today. He's going to talk to us about all the beer that you can go drink in Detroit.
I don't even drink beer, but I cannot wait for this.
You were going to start after you talk to this guy. I'm telling you, we got to take you out on one of these food tours, these drink tours, because they tell you the history of it. They sort of put it in context. They tell you, I mean, it really makes you appreciate the beer and everything you're drinking. It will convert you. Let's just put it that way.
We'll see.
Also, we've got a woman that I think you probably know really well, Carmen Harlan.
Near and dear to my heart, one of my favorite all-time Detroit newscasters.
Yeah, 38 years over at WDIV.
That long?
Yeah.
She doesn't look a day over 39.
No, not at all.
Like she must have started when she was an infant.
But she is the co-grand marshal of the big Thanksgiving Day parade here in Detroit. And so I got a chance to catch up with her. We'll talk to her about everything that goes into the Thanksgiving Day parade, because she's been doing that for a while too. But this is her first time as a grand marshal. Also, there's an awesome exhibit. You'd really like this exhibit. It's called Politics on Posters. Because you're a politically savvy guy. You follow.
And I'm
the
an
news.
art guy. I'm artsy-fartsy.
Yeah, you'd like this. It's Politics on Posters over at the Baltimore Gallery. I spoke to two of the people who are behind that, so you'll hear that as well.
Nice place.
Yeah, it is a really cool place. It looks like it's going to be cold, but no snow, thank God, for your Thanksgiving week going on here.
Atypical Michigan Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's not usually white here?
No, not really.
It hasn't been the couple years that I've been here.
Yeah, it kind of rains every now and then, but, you know.
So, by the way, we do want to thank the good folks over at Podcast Detroit. They helped us really get ready to launch this show, and Dave and the folks over there are really fantastic. If you are into Detroit podcasts, go check out their slate of shows. They've got a lot of really good shows. And, of course, you can find everything about this show over at thedebriefdetroit.com. Now, here's the way it works for people who haven't listened to the show before. I am the guy who is new to the Detroit area. You grew up here.
Born and raised Pontiac, Michigan.
Yeah, so I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to look cool at parties and stuff like that. so every week at the end of the episode, you give me some homework.
I do, and I did.
And you tell me something that I gotta go research. So what was my homework assignment?
Your homework assignment was the
train station.
The train station.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Michigan Central Station.
Michigan Central Station. So I had to go learn about this, and here's what I learned. Because this is like an iconic building here. I mean, this is one of, like the Rensen, this is one of those buildings that when you see pictures of Detroit, you see photographs of the train station. So it was opened in 1913. And kind of hit its peak in the 1940s when there were 200 trains and 4,000 passengers a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of people over there. But then it kind of went on the decline because this is a car city. And it's much harder to tailgate somebody in a train than it is to tailgate somebody in a car. And
we have cars.
I know how much you Detroiters like tailgating people. I've discovered that since I've been here. When I go away, when I drive somewhere else in Detroit, I can always tell the moment there are no more Detroiters around, because all of a sudden, I don't have to tap my brakes anymore.
That's how Motown got started, just a tap.
So anyway, it started to decline as cars started to take over. By 1971, Amtrak took over the train station. The last train left the station in 1988.
I was probably on that train.
Yeah.
Like 1988, coming back from Ithaca, New York, from Cornell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I took a train from Ithaca to Detroit, and then Detroit to Pontiac.
Because you went to college out there.
I went to college out there.
Nice. Well, in 1995, this guy that I think Detroiters know well, Matty Maroon.
Yeah, he's building a second bridge going over to Canada.
Wait, so tell me who Matty Maroon is. What's the story behind this?
Matty Maroon has more money than probably Jesus and God combined. and he's all about. He's an investor, man. He's a big businessman around here, and he's in the process now of building a bridge from Detroit, a second bridge. Alongside the Ambassador Bridge that goes from Windsor to Detroit or Detroit to Windsor. He's in the process of building a second bridge now.
So I was reading about how Mayor Duggan hated the fact that the train station had no windows in it, because you would always see these photos of the train station and it would always look, it kind of became this symbol of Detroit's
It was
decay.
ruin porn.
Yeah. Right. And so he finally convinced them to put the windows in 2015, but they had to wait until after they filmed a scene in Superman versus Batman Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, clearly, we don't have enough despair going on. Don't put windows in. And they probably went to wall side windows, which is local.
But there's windows in there now, right?
Right, and they have these beautiful light displays and stuff at night, especially around the holidays now. It's really something to see.
So you have actually been in the train station? Because I hear it's amazing inside there.
I haven't been in, like I said, since '88.
Right.
But I'm itching to go down there and check it out.
But vaulted ceilings and the whole thing when you were in there?
You pulled right into the building, man. It was incredible.
Wow.
It was incredible.
Well, earlier this year, they actually had a homecoming with 400 civic leaders there, including Lily Tomlin, who I think got a key to the city. Yeah, so they're trying to do something with it.
Wait a minute, she got a key to the city?
I think that's right. I think that's what happened. Why?
In Detroit?
Did you think you were... What? Did you guys not have keys?
Yeah, we just walk into houses. What are you talking about? I don't have time for that.
All right, so that's my homework. I hope I did all right.
You did great, man.
Now, you always give me homework. I return the favor by giving you a pop quiz.
Okay.
So here's how this works. I'm going to give you 3 statements. 2 of them are true. 1 of them are false. And you've got to try and identify the false one. Now, you don't have to do it right away. You got to the end of the show to think about it.
Pressure, man.
All
Pressure.
Right? You ready?
I'm going to think about it the entire show.
Number 1. When the station opened, it was the tallest railway station in the world.
Okay.
Number 2. In 1936, a massive fire broke out on the 4th floor when a burglar knocked over a candle. And number 3. In 2009, the Detroit City Council voted to demolish the train station. All right, those are your 3. Give it some thought.
The D3. The D3.
Sports report.
All right, Mike, what's going on with sports?
Have a big week in sports, Seth. The Pistons, they're at home tonight, actually, while we're recording this, playing against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they're on the road for 2 games against the OKC Thunder and the Boston Celtics. We have the Red Wings. They're at home against the Edmonton Oilers this Wednesday, the 22nd. And then they're on the road against the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. Have to go to New York and New Jersey. Whatever. Michigan State basketball, they're playing in the PK80 Invitational. That's the Phil Knight's 80th birthday Invitational. I don't know why they decided to make it, but it's Nike. They have a lot of money.
Right.
So they're playing a bunch of teams. We don't know who yet. But on Thanksgiving night, they play a game against DePaul at 11:30.
I got a lot of sports options Thanksgiving night.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. All day. Football, then basketball, man, you're set. You're set.
I got to ask Steve what kind of beers to drink with my my Thanksgiving Day sports.
Where your pants are unloosened and your feet are up. Yeah, that's
that could be any day.
Just place it right on your stomach. MSU football, they will close out their season, their regular season, against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And that's in New Jersey as well. So we had the Red Wings and MSU playing in New Jersey. U of M basketball, they're at the Maui Invitational Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's in Hawaii, if you don't know where Maui is. Duh. And then the basketball team returns to Chrysler Arena to play the University of California, Riverside. Exciting. Then the big game. Biggest rivalry in all of sports, if I could say rivalry.
Explain this to me because, I'm not from here.
Listen, man, Michigan Wolverines versus the Ohio State Buckeyes.
So I know that that's a big rivalry, but how does the U of M, Ohio rivalry compare to the U of M Michigan State rivalry?
It really depends. People in state, they think that MSU Michigan is the biggest rivalry.
Right.
But people at U of M, they're so pretentious. I mean,
well, there goes half our podcast space. Thanks.
They look past the whole little brother thing. Sorry, Ann Arbor. You know how people think you are. Come on, don't try to front. But they tend to look past MSU as their quote unquote little brother, even though MSU's been kind of putting their foot in their behinds for the last 10 years. And they focus on Ohio State. And for about 25, 30 years, it was an incredible rivalry with Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes down at OSU. They said a lot of bad things about one another. Like Woody said he would never get gas in this state. He would just call it this state or that school up north. It was just that bad, man.
Wow.
You know?
All right.
So it still kind of hangs, but Ohio State's been kicking our butt.
All right.
The last 10 years or so.
Well, maybe that changes Saturday.
Maybe it does. Maybe we turn it all around Saturday. Also, another big game, the Detroit Lions, Thanksgiving, man. The big Thanksgiving classic.
So this is another tradition here, right?
Yes. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings. It's a super huge game, not only because it's Thanksgiving, but...
I just meant because Jason Derulo was doing the halftime show.
Yeah, that's right.
He's my favorite judge, and So You Think You Can Dance.
What?
Never mind. Forget I admitted that.
Yeah. I'll forget all about that. And also, a very cool story that popped up just today. Detroit will become the third city in all of the U.S. to have a sports venue specifically for indoor bike racing when the Lexus Velodrome opens in Midtown in December.
It's a velodrome?
Velodrome.
That's a cool word.
Yeah, man.
I might have to use that in a sentence every now and
Velodrome.
then. Velodrome.
It's like velocity and
Velociraptor, drone.
I don't know what those drone is. But yeah, man, it's indoor bike racing.
That's good because I don't like
Track.
biking here in the winter. I will say that.
Well,
so I can do that. Do I have to do it fast? I don't
know. I don't know. It's going to be huge. It's 64,000 square feet.
I have a limit on how many calories I'm willing to burn.
Well, I'm sure if you bike there in the wintertime, you're going to burn a lot of calories.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah, you just want to have those big like bird thighs. So by the time spring hits, you can do the slow roll without any problem.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, man, that's it for sports.
All right, coming up in just a few, we'll take a look at the concerts that are coming to town.
Debrief.
Want more? Text the word Detroit to the number 444-999.
All right, there was big news that just happened. I don't know, the date is today online. I think this is in the travel section on Sunday, though. The New York Times has this fantastic article, huge, long article by Reef Larson, and its headline, Detroit, the most exciting city in America.
You didn't say that right.
What?
It's Detroit, the most exciting city in America?
I was trying to gloss over the
There's a huge question mark at the end. You can't do that. It almost sounds like it's kind of like I'm confirming it, but
maybe
Detroit?
Really?
Right.
Like New York surprise.
Right, exactly. You eat ranch dressing with that? It's that kind of pitch.
Still, though, that's pretty cool that the New York Times is starting to single out and starting to recognize everything that's going on in Detroit. And I thought the guy got the article right. He talks a lot about the slow roll and a lot about the restaurants that are popping up. But at the same time, there's been some complications, some issues, some concerns with all this growth that's coming to the city, when it comes to displacing people. And they didn't...
The G word.
Gentrification. Yeah, they didn't shy away from that. Let me read a passage from the article. In Detroit, the future is still being written. Time and time again, I felt giddy with possibilities, informed in large part by the innovators I was talking to. Yet many of these same innovators, community activists, artists, small business owners, took issue with the trendy notion of a new Detroit, as this term largely ignored the fiercely independent and creative spirit that has existed in the city for decades and made Detroit such a haven for creatives and visionaries in the first place. Indeed, those who have been here for the long haul were skeptical about the massive redevelopment downtown would translate into any kind of sustainable change in the surrounding neighborhoods, areas that largely bore the brunt of the Motor City's long decline. How Detroit navigates the various dangers and regenerations and gentrifications, the G word there, seems a particularly poignant question given that this year is the 50th anniversary of the 1967 Detroit race riots that exposed the deep tensions ingrained within a city that remains one of the most segregated in the country.
Yeah. I mean, that's deep, man. Detroit is definitely going through one of those, you think we suck, hold my beer type of thing, and just trying to disprove all of the negative connotations and thoughts that people have. I mean, people think about Detroit still burning, and we had the Devil's Night. Well, that's been shut down, and all of the negative, with the abandoned buildings and everything, and the war zone. People comparing it to a war zone, and now that they're starting to fix it up. And a lot of these companies and new stores and venues are popping up. It's weird, man. It's just even from 5 years ago, it's weird to go down there and see all of these new restaurants and stores and venues and all just popping up. It's exciting. But then I do have concerns about outside of the downtown area. What exactly are they going to do with it? They're relying on this trickle down type of activity to go on. We'll see. I mean, the jury's still out, but it doesn't mean that you need to stay away or you should shy away from it.
Let me ask, I mean, on the one hand, it's exciting to see all this stuff go in, but do you worry about people getting priced out? Do you worry about,
yeah, absolutely.
Costing more?
Absolutely. And it happens in Chicago. It happens in every urban area when money starts pouring in from investors. And Dan Gilbert, I mean, he owns between Gilbert and the Illiches. I mean, they call it tongue-in-cheek Gilbertville. Right. Because he has all of these buildings that he owns. He owns a lot of downtown. So it's kind of hard to take it that basically two families, kind of like Grand Rapids even, two families run the city.
But at the same time, you go downtown and you can't miss the excitement. You can't miss everything that's going on. I mean, that
and
little
it's cool
Caesars
to see shiny
arena,
and new stuff, man.
Yeah, it's nice there.
The queue line.
Yes. All that stuff moving in. Well, let me ask whether Reef got it right or not. You saw the recommendations that he made in the article. What are your thoughts?
Well, he has where to stay. The Elmore, which I haven't been to the Elmore, but I have been to the Detroit Foundation Hotel. I haven't stayed there, but I've seen the rooms. It's ridiculous. I highly urge people just to eat there and hang out there. It's a cool hang. It's very, very cool what they did to the old fire station. Detroit Fire Department. Also, where to eat. Selden Standard. Everyone, when you tell them, hey, where to eat down in Detroit, where's a nice spot, Selden Standard is usually mentioned in the first three. So I agree with that. Detroit Vegan Soul. I'm not a vegan, but I've heard nothing but solid recommendations about that. Cuzzo's Chicken and Waffles. That's where it hits home for me. And I know Cuzzo's is on point. I try to go down there on a Sunday, and it's a line out the door and down the street.
Wow.
So,
all right, so
I recommend it.
So Reef did his homework then?
He did.
All right.
He did. I'm looking at this, and he gets a solid A+ from me.
Well, shout out to the New York Times. This is a big deal to have our story in the New York Times. It's a big deal for it to, not just to be there, but I mean, it is there. It is a massive article there. Go check it out. Go read it online if
please.
You can. But that's awesome to see.
This is the D
Concert calendar.
Let's talk about the concerts that are coming to town, Mike. On Wednesday, November 22nd, this is Thanksgiving Eve. You've got What You Really, Really Want, the 90s hip-hop dance party. It's a free event at the Magic Stick.
Oh, snap.
That's your
Get
jam
my shell
right
toes on.
We also have Danny Brown's Bruiser Thanksgiving 4 with special guest Little B at El Club. And Nightmare is got his Nightmare Before Christmas at the Royal Oak Music Theater. Of course, Thursday is Thanksgiving Day, but on Friday, November 24th, Black Friday, you've got I Prevail with special guest We Came as Romans, The Word Alive, and Escape the Fate. They're going to be at the Masonic Temple in a sold-out show. Yellow Wolf is at the Fillmore. We've got Dead & Company, that's former members of the Grateful Dead, over at Little Caesars. You've got Joe Bonamassa, the blues rock guitarist, who's going to be performing at the Fox Theater. Uncle Cracker does this bash every year, right? He's doing over at the Royal Oak Music Theater. And finally, you've got Funk Night Black Friday with special guest Jeremy Ellis and John Arnold. That's happening at the Marble Bar.
That's what I call every Friday.
Every Friday?
Funk Night Black Friday. That's what I call it.
On Saturday, November 25th, you've got Michigander at the Pike Room in Pontiac. Also Lotus at the Royal Oak Music Theater. Yeah, break out your glow sticks. You've got Motor City Soul Club happening. It's the November Soul Stomp Dance Party at the Marble Bar. And then, of course, Tuesday, November 28th, you've got Morrissey. It's going to be at the Fillmore. You a Smiths fan?
Who?
Yeah. And by the way, Diana Ross performed, I don't know if you saw this, at the American Music Awards. She won the Lifetime Achievement Award.
I would think that she would have had that by now.
You'd think.
It's Diana Ross,
Well,
man.
it's the American Music Awards are catching up.
Yeah, they were too busy giving it to Miley or
Whoever. I don't know. But go watch the performance if you haven't seen her, because her grandsons and her grandkids pop up on stage, and her grandson just steals the show. He's like doing the splits, and yeah, he puts me to shame. It's it's pretty cool to check out. Stick around a little bit. We're going to take a look at the movies that are coming to town.
This is the D.
Detroit
This is the D.
Brave.
All right, Mike, like I said, you're a politically savvy guy, right?
I am that.
You are, I see your Facebook posts. You're
I'm all like, vote for Mike Jeter for student council president and stuff.
Well, there's an exhibit. I think you'd really like this exhibit. This is happening over at the Baltimore Gallery. Have you ever been there?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have?
Man, I love art. And so to know that they have this politics on posters thing, I'm all for this, man. I'm all about this.
So this is an exhibit that is all about, it's basically what it sounds like, right? It's politics on posters. And I got a chance to go on down there to talk to Donna Jackson. She's the owner of DFA Studio. And she was the one who curated this exhibit, really put it all together. Also, Philip Simpson, he's an artist, but he's also the director of the Baltimore Gallery, which opened 3 years ago. So I sat down with both of them, and I started with Philip, and I said, well, look, tell me a little bit about the history of this place.
We opened up January 1st, 2015. We love showcasing local talent. Our primary goal to open this place was, I've been told no numerous times to submit art downtown and out of state, and a lot of my peers have, and I wanted to be a place where you are welcome to showcase your work here. Photography, acrylic, oil paintings, dance, poetry. We have a lot of open mic events. And one of the ways we keep the roof over our head and keep the revenue stream going on, we do special events as well.
I know your ears pick up when you hear the words open mic.
Yeah, I heard Mike and I went, yeah, because any time that you can have, especially comedy, a show in such a venue like this, it's just unique, man. It's a unique experience, and as a comedian and a performer, I love performing in places like this.
Well, it's a cool room, and I got a chance to ask Donna about the Posters on Politics exhibit and how she all put it together. This is what she said.
Posters in Politics is exactly what it sounds like, a group of posters that were created by artists and designers from around the world that focuses on ideologies of politics from around the world, not just here in America. The funny thing is, we thought this was just going to be a Detroit thing. Like, oh, we're going to get the Detroit designers out and we're going to just talk about our local politics, because we were getting close to, voting for our new mayor at that time. And we were shocked at what was coming in. And what was coming in was designers from all over the world wanting to share their political views and values and ideologies. So that's what you see here, is a collection of over 80 posters from around the world.
And let me tell you, they are colorful. If you actually go look at the Debrief's Instagram feed, I took a bunch of photos.
Yeah, I did, man.
Yeah, they were cool. And the politics is really international in terms of topics and subject matter. I asked Phil what it was like to put on a political show, because that's not normally the type of exhibit that they do there. Here's what he said.
When she presented this concept to me, I had never thought that I would be a part of a politics show. Typically, the family from the east side of Detroit, you talk about politics at home mostly. I don't talk about it much out in public, but this was the right time in our city, but also the right time in our nation to talk about it. And so I was very happy to have the show here, but was 100% overwhelmed with the response. Not only being the response once the artwork was here, but just knowing that the submissions came from all around the world. That's the first from our Baltimore Gallery, having submissions from around the world. That was intriguing. Like, oh wow, people sending us work, and I'm getting packages with Mexico, envelopes and packaging on. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. So this is pretty awesome.
That's got to be pretty amazing to put something together and to realize that it's resonating all over the world. You've struck a chord when you start seeing that kind of reaction.
Politics, it affects all of us. There's no country that's immune to it.
Yeah, but it feels like it's something that people who aren't normally paying attention to are paying attention to right now, doesn't it? And not just here in America. I think that's probably true around the world. And so, especially artists had.
And artists tend to give you that insight into what's really going on.
Well, that was what was amazing about this is kind of their perspectives, and you would see it would just make you think about things in a different way. I actually asked Donna if there were any surprises for her in putting this exhibit together. Here's what she said.
We are seeing a lot of images on our President Trump, and the odd thing is that 90% of these were made by people that do not live in the United States. Creating art based on our president. So that was kind of eye-opening, letting us know who's watching America right now.
Yeah, I guess everybody's watching America right now.
I wonder what they drew.
You'll have to go see. But there were, I'd say, 15 to 20% of the posters referenced President Trump in some way. I mean, it was striking, and you did sit there as you were walking through the gallery and say, during Obama's term or even during George W. Bush's term, would this many of the posters have focused on the President of the United States? He's definitely a focal point right there. But not every poster was about that. I asked Donna to tell me the story of one of the other posters, and she told me this story.
There's a poster here, and it's like the top of it shows this really serene image of Puerto Rico. The great trees, the water, the nice little cabins, what we think of Puerto Rico with those brilliant colors. And then it shows Puerto Rico again underneath it, kind of decimated by our hurricane, Hurricane Maria that hit it. And what it says at the top is Puerto Rico, USA. And at the bottom where we see Puerto Rico kind of torn to pieces by this hurricane, it says Puerto Rico, USA with question marks on it. So questioning, is it part of the USA the way that we've been treating our citizens?
So yeah, lots of different topics covered there. And I saw things about North Korea. I saw things about what's going on in Spain these days. All sorts of stuff at the exhibit. Like I said, Mike, I think you'd really enjoy this. Go check it out. It's only going to be there till the end of the month, though.
Oh, I'm on it.
Yeah, so you got to get there. You got to get there soon. The gallery is at 314 East Baltimore Ave in Detroit. You can get all the details at the Baltimore Gallery, Detroit.com. It's the Posters on Politics exhibit. And then I asked Phil, well, what's after this? Here's what he said.
The next exhibit is December 1st, which is in a few Fridays from now. And a gentleman from Detroit, born and raised, Daryl Terrell, he's a curator, he's a painter, he's an artist, he's a photographer, but he's put together this exhibit called Positive, based off HIV Positive. It's National AIDS World's Day, December 1st, and so that's what the show is based on.
So yeah, if you're looking for a way to support local artists, Detroit artists, go check out the Baltimore Gallery there in downtown. Really cool way to go, just basically see what's going on in the art scene.
Nice.
Coming up in just a few, we're going to talk to Carmen Harlan, who is a co-grand marshal at this year's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Action. This is the Deep Brief.
On the screen.
Mike, what's happening in the movie theaters?
Coco, all Hispanic animation by Pixar, is out. It's coming out. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. We should check that out.
That's good. Pixar's always pretty good.
I love Pixar animation. I generally fall asleep during Disney. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I do. My kids will tell you wild stories about me dozing off. The Man Who Invented Christmas, starring the great Christopher Plummer.
What is this?
It's a backstory. The
Invented
backstory
Christmas?
that led.
Isn't that Jesus who invented Christmas?
No, he didn't invent Christmas. No,
He didn't?
No. This is the backstory that led to Ebenezer Scrooge being invented.
Wait, this is an Origins film?
It's an origin story, man.
For
like
Scrooge?
X-Men. Yeah.
Come on.
Think Wolverine,
It's like
but less clawy.
it's like Tiny Tim, Days of Future Past,
Yes,
right? Like
exactly.
there's gonna be a whole. What happens when they have to recast it? Are they gonna?
That's all Hollywood's doing now. It seems our origin story.
Is Joss Whedon at least writing it?
No, I don't think so. I think this might be Spielberg.
There's going to be a
Lot of
spoiler at
CG.
the end after the credits that kind of shows you how it all ties together with Rudolph and
There'll be an Easter
Frosty
egg
the
that-
Snowman.
It's probably a Marvel,
Yeah.
a Marvel film.
I don't know about this.
The movie, the movie Bombshell is out, and I'm very interested in this. Oh, by the way, The Man Who Invented Christmas, 89% Rotten Tomatoes, so it looks
that's not
worthwhile.
bad. All right.
The movie Bombshell, it's gotten an 83%. It's about Austrian-born Hollywood star Hedy Lamarr, who was also an inventor. I don't know if you know this, but she collaborated with another scientist to develop a radio system that helped the Allies torpedo Nazi U-boats.
So this is a true story.
This is a true story.
No, I didn't know this at all.
Yeah, beginning of World War II, she did it. And some people think that what they developed led to what we know today as Bluetooth technology and Wi-Fi and CDMA.
They blew up U-boats with Bluetooth? I got to be careful.
Was old Bluetooth.
Alexa.
It wasn't quite blue yet. Right, Alexa.
Alexa, you sunk my battleship.
Blow up the Nazis, Alexa. That would be awesome.
That would be pretty awesome.
We should go back in time and do
back in time. We need that now.
I don't think they're dealing with U-boats, but also Gary Oldham, starring in a movie called The Darkest Hour. It's about Prime Minister Winston Churchill and the fate of Western Europe hangs on his leadership.
I love Churchill as a historical figure because he was a guy who was kind of washed up and basically pushed aside, and he was the only guy sitting there going, these Nazis I think are going to be a problem, and then and nobody was listening, and then he turned out to be right. And
They're like, shut up, Churchill.
you should go, if you've never been. There's a Churchill Museum in London, and it's amazing because it's all this new technology that's in there, and so the displays that they use, it's very interactive. And
Do they have Bluetooth by Hedy Lamarr?
I don't know if they do. I don't know if you can blow up U-boats from the museum. That would be cool.
It would be awesome. At the Main Art Theater in Royal Oak, you have The Man Who Invented Christmas, what we just spoke about, so you can catch it there. And Novitate.
What is that? Is that something you like would get in your tooth pulled?
Yes. As opposed to Yesvitate. You have Novitate. Maple Theater and Kitchen in Bloomfield. Shut up. I can't spin gems all the time.
Go on.
Maple Theater and Kitchen in Bloomfield. You have Last Flag Flying, which is a very interesting looking movie. It's about 3 former Vietnam soldiers or friends, and one his son died in Iraq, so is going to retrieve his body and all that. Steve Carell's in it, Lawrence Fishburne's in it, so it looks really good. It looks really good. 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. We spoke about. I still want to see that movie.
Yeah, me too.
At the Detroit Film Theater at the DIA, you have Chavela, which is a story about the beloved Mexican singer Chavela Vargas, and you also have The Square. That's also there. And at the Redford Theater, Classic Cartoon Festival is happening this weekend.
Oh, that's
Tom
cool.
and Jerry and Foghorn, Leghorn, all of that.
So I actually saw a video that came up in my Facebook feed that was about the Redford Theater and all the renovations they're doing.
It's
and
a
the
beautiful
history
theater,
there.
man.
You've been inside?
No, I haven't. I've seen pictures of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the organ that they play there and just the whole, it looks amazing. So I would definitely like to go check that out.
And to see cartoons? Come on, man. That would be so cool.
That's a plus. We're going to talk about what's happening in theaters, not the movie theaters, but the stage theaters in Detroit in just a bit.
Can't get enough.
This is the D3.
Subscribe in Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your favorite shows.
Mike, tell me what the Thanksgiving Day Parade means to somebody who's actually from the area.
I got to admit, Seth, not a big parade fan.
You're not?
I'm just not. I'm really not into anything that kids like.
Really?
Yeah, that's what makes me, I'm a good daddy. I'm a horrible father. Horrible father. I don't take pictures and videotapes of my kids playing in plays or playing sports and stuff. But I will say, I will watch the Thanksgiving Day Parade with my kids. Been doing it.
Yeah, is it something that you did with your family as a kid? I mean, it's been around
Yeah, absolutely.
forever. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is to
I mean, I come from a large family, so to see that big turkey floating around
Right.
there, oh,
Look,
that's
when
lunch.
your family gets together, that's pretty much a parade in and of
We usually have a
itself.
turkey that big, about the size of a float.
Well, this year it's happening, and Carmen Harlan, who has been a long-time news anchor, news personality.
My all-time favorite.
Yeah, 38 years. She retired last year, but she used to actually announce the parade. This year, she is co-grand marshal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, with the rapper Big Sean from here. So I got a chance to catch up with her and talk to her about her role in the parade. This is what she told me.
In the Thanksgiving parade, I am moving out of that nice, cozy, warm trailer as a co-host and into a Mustang being driven by the mayor as co-grand marshal of the Thanksgiving parade this year. So I'm sharing that role with Big Sean, which should, really bring a lot of millennials and youngsters into the fold who might have grown up with me and probably think I don't know who Big Sean is. But guess what? I was like, all right.
That's a great voice.
She is so hip.
Yes,
I
she
dig
is.
her so much, man.
I got to tell you this. After I sat down and talked to her as I was leaving, the one thought that was going through my head was, I totally get why she is a TV personality, and I'm just on the radio. You know what I mean? She's just got this sort of poise and this confidence to her. She's just cool.
It's a quiet cool, man.
Yeah,
It's
it
a quiet
really
cool.
is. It really is. Well, I asked her what her duties were going to be as co-grand marshal. Here's what she said.
As co-grand marshal, I think I've got probably the easiest role. I'm going to wave at everybody along the parade route on both sides. Mayor Duggan is the driver, and something he's done before, so I think I'm going to be in good hands. I'm going to be in a Ford Mustang, and it's a good thing I'm not driving because I have driven one, and they can get up there. I mean, you could be really tempted to want to shift it into that fourth gear, but...
What if she just went rogue?
Just went off script.
Just totally started driving the Mother Goose and started, bumper cars at the other floats. That would be awesome.
Yeah, the news person makes the news.
Right.
That would be...
Well,
I will watch it. I will watch every parade from then on out.
Totally. I asked Carmen about her memories of the parade as a kid. She said this.
If I wasn't watching it, we were trying to get there. And as most youngsters, especially my age, it was just a traditional, something you look forward to at Thanksgiving time. It kicked off the holiday season here in Detroit. The floats were larger than life and represented all the characters that youngsters grow up with. You had Mother Goose. In fact, I think she may still be a part of the parade, or they may have retired her by now, but she was always a part of the Thanksgiving Day parade. There was also, the floats, the balloons that, you want to see march down Woodward Avenue as well, and of course, the big guy in the red suit with the white beard. When Santa comes to town, the parade is over, but when he makes his appearance in the parade, he gets the key to the hearts of all the boys and girls in the city of Detroit. And it's just part of growing up here. I think the way that the Macy's parade is for New Yorkers. And, when parents, I know I did with my children when I wasn't hosting the parade, you made it a part of your Thanksgiving holiday. And that is that fantasies come true.
Yeah, that's always what I think of when I think of Thanksgiving Day parades, is just kind of turning it on in the background while you're cooking, while you're, you're having your beers, you're warming up, you're waiting for all the relatives to come over.
See, I thought she was talking about me, the big guy with the white beard
I
and
did
the red
too
suit.
at first.
Because I usually dress pretty sharp on Thanksgiving,
I thought so too. Do you have a red suit?
Oh, yeah, man. Everyone in Detroit has a red suit. Every guy in Detroit has a red suit with 9 buttons.
Have you ever played Santa? Because you would make a great Santa.
I have a great story about that. I did one year, a few years ago, I played Santa, and I have bad knees.
Yeah.
And this little girl, she's maybe 11, 10 or 11 and all that. It's a little heavier kid,
Yeah.
and she ran and jumped on my bad knee.
Ooh.
Actually jumped on my best knee. and it hurt.
Ooh.
It hurt a lot.
Santa retired after that?
Yeah, I hung up the reindeer.
I understand. Well, I asked Carmen because a lot of people want to know. She retired last year, and I wanted to know what she's doing since she retired. She told me.
I've had a chance to travel quite a bit. My husband and I spent 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks in Bosnia and Croatia, and so I got a chance to get to Dubrovnik. And so we're kind of venturing out in areas that I really didn't have time to do, raising a family, putting kids through college, doing all of those things, maintaining a full-time career as a journalist here on television in Detroit, and for almost 40 years. And, a lot of times you just have to say, well, I'll do that when I get a time or when I get a chance. And now this is the time. And I'm working on a project that I can't really talk about right now, but boy, I'm so excited about it. And probably this spring I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it, and maybe even on the podcast.
Oh,
What?
we could break some big news.
Future news. We should ask her to just break it on the podcast.
We should have her come in
Yeah.
one day, right?
That would be awesome.
That would be pretty awesome.
Might lose my stuff,
What,
though,
what do you
man,
think it
'cause
is? What do
she's
you think
awesome.
the top secret Carmen Harlan project is?
Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. She and I are going to cut a song with Big Sean.
You think she's headed into the recording studio?
I think she is.
All right.
I think she's going to be.
What do you do? You're just the guy who sits there in the background and goes, yeah.
It's Lady C,
ooh.
Big Sean, and Choco Bear. That's going to be her. Represent what?
Well, I don't know if you know this. This is a little Detroit trivia for you. She is actually the voice of the Q line. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
She is. Here's the story.
I got a call from Summer Woods, who I know her mom, Jackie Woods. She's with Motor City. And I guess there was discussion for the voice of the Q line, and somebody said, whose voice would be good, and maybe we can convince her to do it. And it was like a phone call. And of course, I think Summer might have been a little nervous. And I said, sure, I would be honored to do that for you. And so we went into the studio at United Sound. First, we did it the way that they thought they wanted it, and then we went back maybe a few months later and just cleaned up some things. And but my son was writing the Q line. He was here for the Detroit homecoming, and of course he hears his mother's voice, and what do you think he says? That's my mom. No. So anyway, I was thrilled when she asked me, and I'm glad that people still get a chance to, they know that I'm alive and well, and I haven't completely abandoned the city at all.
That's cool, isn't it?
Dude, that is way cool.
Wouldn't that freak you out, though? You got on the Q line and you heard your mom. that would scare
It would freak me out, yeah.
Right. Like, eat your vegetables.
And they wouldn't ask me.
No.
I'd try to cool it up or something. I'd be like, yeah, get off here, yeah.
Well, the final thing that I had to ask her, because this is a woman who has chronicled this city for
Absolutely,
almost
man.
4 decades.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this a lot, the changes that are happening in this city, what's going on, especially in light of the New York Times article that we were talking about earlier, and just the Little Caesars Arena, and just everything that's been happening. I asked her what her take was on it.
I can feel the difference. Certainly am seeing the opening of the Little Caesars Arena. Structurally, you can't help but see how the city is growing in different directions. And I can remember thinking 20 years ago, God, it would be nice if, this area looked like this, and, buildings that were not built in the city had been built in Detroit. But now that it's coming into fruition, I think everybody can feel it, that Detroit is moving in a positive and a very forward direction. And it's not growing too quickly. Things are moving at a steady pace, and I think a lot of that has to do with people like you, Seth, who are moving to Detroit and, just thinking, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, and not thinking anything of it. And so, we need that kind of energy, and it's nice to see it. It really is.
Can I just point something out here?
Point it out.
That's Carmen Harlan.
Yes.
Okay, who has chronicled this city for 38 years. And she said the reason for the Renaissance here in Detroit is me.
She also said that you bringing energy.
I'm just saying, Dan Gilbert. I mean, I know you're trying, but really,
He should have you talk to Amazon to get that second headquarter here.
I could close the deal. All right, I don't know what's taking him so long.
We really wanted to come here, but not as Seth said to come.
Yeah, send in the big guns to get it done. Anyway, the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Carmen Harlan, like I said, she's going to be the co-grand marshal along with Big Sean. It's happening, of course, Thursday, November 23rd. This is the 91st annual parade.
It's only like 3 years older than I am.
And it goes down Woodward, and you can catch the whole thing live. If you can't be there yourself in person, you can catch the whole thing broadcast live on WDIV. We'll also talk in just a few minutes about some of the other things that are going on this Thanksgiving Day weekend.
This is the Deep Brief.
On stage.
Let's talk about some of the shows that are going on in the theaters. We have at Detroit Public Theater, Pike Street. That's going to be opening this weekend. Also at Detroit Rep, we've got Swimming Upstream. The Matrix Theater Company has Who Will Sing for Lena. The Michigan Opera Theater has The Nutcracker by the Cincinnati Ballet. I guess it's time to start breaking out the Christmas shows there.
Yeah, man.
This is the weekend.
This is the weekend.
Players Guild of Dearborn has Promises, Promises. The Ringwald Theater has Life Sucks.
Very Christmassy.
I wrote Life Sucks on my arm with a permanent pen at one point when I was, I don't know, in 4th or 5th grade. And I just totally remember the PE teacher looking at me all askew and going, oh, I'm going to get into so much trouble. I don't think that's what the play is about.
No.
The Tipping Point Theater has Office Hours as well. And then kind of a sad note, do you know Della Reese?
Absolutely do, man.
Detroit native, most well known for playing Tess on the TV show Touched by an Angel. She passed away at the age of 86.
Man.
Yeah, she was from Black Bottom. She attended Cass Technical High School. You were telling me a little bit about that high school.
Yeah, man. Cass Tech, one of our premier high schools in the Detroit area. The technicians, I mean, you go down and mention Cass Tech. If that person is from Cass Tech, you'll hear the whole history about it. They know their school.
Yeah.
Very proud. And it's, yeah, man, this is really sad. This makes me really, she had a beautiful voice, man.
Yeah, Mahalia
Absolutely.
Jackson apparently recruited her when she was just 13 years old.
Wow.
To be in her gospel troupe. So, yeah, sad news. So, rest in peace. And of course, our thoughts and prayers going out to all her family and her fans here in the Detroit area. In just a moment, we're going to talk to the founder of Motor City Brew Tours. We're going to talk about beers from the area.
Welcome to the Deep. Deep.
Funny stuff.
Mike, talk to me about stand-up comedy.
Well, at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, we will have Billy Ray Bauer just Friday and Saturday because, Thursday is Thanksgiving. So Friday and Saturday, November 24th and 25th. Also on Friday night after the early show with Billy Ray Bauer, you can catch Mike Bonner's Uptown Friday Night. Always an excellent show.
Talk a little bit about this show for people who might not be familiar with it.
Well, Mike Bonner is, he's a legend of Detroit comedy. This guy's been all over TV, Def Comedy Jam. He's been on BET and so on. He's been doing it for a long, long time. What he does is he'll bring in some national headlining comedians to come in from, everywhere, Chicago, New York, wherever. And also a lot of local comedians to perform more of an urban crowd, which isn't, the thing at Mark Ridley's. It's more suburban. So he brings in the urban crowd. People come up past 8 Mile to watch the shows. Always a fun night. It's always packed out, too.
Nice.
Always packed out. So it's only once a month. This is the Friday that you want to catch it. At Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, you have the very funny Hayward Banks. He's there also Friday and Saturday. Punchline Comedy Lounge in Southfield. Clipperman, comedian Clipperman. He'll be there Thursday. So if you're looking for comedy on Thanksgiving, there you go. Thursday through Sunday.
You can eat some turkey. You can, unzip your pants a little bit and go catch a comedy
Baby,
show.
I want to go laugh. And just laugh some of this food out my gullet or something. You go see Clipperman. He'll be there Thursday through Sunday. The Holly Hotel has my friend, one of my favorites, Dave Landau, national touring comedian from Michigan. He'll be there Friday and Saturday.
And that's a funny dude, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Worked with Dave many, many times. First time I worked with him, I told him he's one of my top 10 comedians ever.
Yeah.
And he's legit. Love him. So get a chance, go check him out.
Welcome to the Deep.
Brief. Bottoms up.
All right, we have a very special guest in studio with us. Steve Johnson is the owner and founder of Motor City Brew Tours. They provide guided tours to Michigan breweries. Mike, we've talked about some of the food tours that happen around town before. This is actually this is a tour that has just everything to do with beer. He is also the author of Detroit Beer, A History of Brewing in the Motor City, and he's got 2 monthly podcasts, Beer Tour Guy and 2 Beers In. Welcome to the podcast, Steve Johnson. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Seth and Mike. Appreciate
They're very
it.
busy.
Yeah,
Steve Johnson. Holy cow.
So your life is full-time beer now.
It is very much full-time beer.
Explain for people who have never been on a food tour or a drink tour like this, what happens on these tours?
Well, like a typical format is we'd pick you up, you'd jump on a bus, we'd take you to 3 breweries in about 4 hours, and at each of the stops you'd get tours and tastings and the whole VIP treatment.
Nice. So these tours are all driving tours, bus tours?
So it's a mix of bus, walking, and then we do bicycle tours May through September.
Oh, I love this kind of thing.
Beer on bikes.
Beer on bikes.
Bikes on beer. Beer
So
on
it's bikes then beer.
Bikes
That's the way
then
we like
beer.
to say it, right? Bikes then beer. We call them bike and brew tours.
Nice. And you get like the full-blown history as you're going on the tour, right?
Yeah, the bike tours are a little different than the bus and walk, where on the bike tours you learn about history of the city. So we have a theme. So it could be brewery history, prohibition history, automotive history, and then you finish where you started, which was at a brewery, and you get beer and food all bundled into it. So it's kind of half learning, half social, a little bit of exercise, but not too much exercise.
I love stuff
That's right
like
up my
this.
alley.
Yeah. How did you
I wasn't like looking at you as I
I
said
know,
that or
man.
anything.
how do you get into a business like this? I mean, how can I start a business like this?
You just do it.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds so simplistic when I say it that way. Like, yeah, I went to school and everything and have an education, but at the end of the day, it was just me being drunk at a beer festival and suggesting that we should start a tour company to a buddy. And he's like, well, why don't we just rent a bus? And next thing you know, we're just doing it.
And you just did it?
Yeah.
And were you a beer expert before you started doing
Definitely not. I was a beer drinking expert.
this? Okay.
Like straight
That's a good
Pats
start.
or
Oh my God, what?
Old Milwaukee.
You're kicked off the tour. Get off the bus.
That's all right. I know how to handle people like that. I'm an experienced professional, so I can handle that
How do you handle
conversation.
somebody? Yeah,
I'm a
how do
rub
you-
guy.
How
I'm
do you
sorry.
handle a heckler like that?
A heckler like that. By the end of the tour, he's looking for my autograph because I've changed his ways on how he drinks. And he's like, PBR what? He's forgetting that by the end of my tour.
But how did you get to the point where you were so authoritative in this that they came to you and asked you to write a book on the history of Detroit beer?
Yeah, I don't want to say it fell in my lap, but the company that I had published with, which was Arcadia Publishing and the History Press, they had a whole series of these books in big cities across the country. And the job of the person who found me at the publisher was to find someone with a resume that knew something about the beer history in that area. And I just happened to do bike tours to breweries where you learned about history. So if you had thought of it, I basically had a perfect LinkedIn profile for this, right? Like when I look at it now, I'm thinking, all right, if she went on LinkedIn, she could see I run this company and I published a book.
She would say you're the guy.
That's kind of what a headhunter for a publishing company would be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is your first book. You'd never written
Right.
before?
I didn't go out to write a book.
Right.
Just the opportunity came my way and I went after it.
Did you have to do a lot more research for the book above and beyond what you'd already done?
Yeah, I'd say like the first couple chapters of the book was really related to what I'd already researched, and I got to kind of elongate that.
Yeah.
So when you're doing bike tours, you learn to do everything in chunks, kind of like what you're doing on a podcast.
Right.
You learn to do that in front of groups, and when you're doing a book, you can elongate that. So that part of it was fun. It brought me back to the material that I've been using for a lot of years, and I got to almost relearn it and redevelop it again. And then the second part of the book was really all current breweries, craft breweries, from 1992 forward, and I interviewed a dozen plus breweries and featured a good 40 of them in the book. So it was really getting their backstories. That's where a lot of the work came in.
All right, I want to see how good you are. Pop quiz then. Like, when did brewing actually start here in Detroit?
So brewing started in the 1830s and 40s when you had your first wave of immigrants coming to Detroit for work. And it was English, Irish, and Scottish immigrants that came in, and they brought their love of food and their love of ales. That'd be popular in Europe. And they started popping up what we would consider brew pubs. We didn't call it that in the 1830s and 40s. And the first brewery in Detroit was called the Davis and Moore Brewery, and it opened in 1837.
Wow, look at that. He's got it right there at his fingertips.
I know, right? It's like he's not even reading off that card that he has one of. That's
Yeah, I actually wrote it on my hand, but I had my hand down so low you couldn't see it.
All right, Steve, stick around because we want to hear more about the history of Detroit beer. So stick around, will you?
This is the deep breeze.
All right, Mike. So if people are looking for something to do over the Thanksgiving holiday, what's going on around the city?
Well, it's Turkey Week.
Yeah, it is.
Turkey Day week. Gobble, gobble. A lot of stuff going on, man. It's crazy amount. But I highlighted a few things that I actually am in love with. Bee nectar, Thanksgiving Eve.
Talk to me about those guys, Steve. This is mead, right? This is different than
Yeah, so fermented honey. So bee nectar would be the largest producer of mead in the United States. All in Ferndale, Michigan.
Fermented honey.
That's amazing. And this tasting room that they have is pretty cool, right? That they put in there.
It is. It's actually where they make it, and then they added this little tasting room on the side to it. It's in an industrial area in Ferndale, so it's not right at that 9-mile Woodward corridor, but it's not too far from it.
All right, so they're doing Thanksgiving Eve there?
Yeah, man, and that's the little name, affectionate name I give to my lady. I call her fermented honey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm a little uncomfortable.
She doesn't know what fermented honey is. Turkey Trot, man, 10K run is happening Thanksgiving Day.
Is this a big tradition? I actually don't know how to do Thanksgiving.
It's a huge tradition.
Really?
There are a lot of runs here. You had a big Detroit, free press run, marathon.
Let me know when there's like a 0.3K run.
Well, you can do the stuffing strut. That's only 5K.
I don't think I can do the stuffing strut.
So nothing with a K behind it.
No.
All right.
Do I get beer at the end of that?
You could absolutely do it. And the rink is open. Ice rink at Campus Marshes.
I want to go down and do that.
You should, man. It's just cool. I don't even skate, but it's just a cool hang and all.
I've been seeing the photos all on Facebook and everything, and it looks amazing.
I think you should go. And if after you watch the Lions play and all, if you want to stick around and watch some more football, there's football all day long. NFL, the Chargers are playing the Cowboys, the Giants and the Redskins are playing. Yeah, they sound crappy. They're probably crappy games, but you should still stick around and watch it still.
But the Lions game is historic on Thanksgiving
Absolutely
Day, right?
historic.
So what are the roots? I don't know the tradition here.
They've been doing this since 1920. At one point, they were the only team to have a Thanksgiving Day special. But now the NFL, Dallas got jealous and they wanted to get in, so they were doing it. So it was Detroit and Dallas. They both will host home games. And then the NFL got greedy and threw in another team.
Steve, you got some Thanksgiving beers you recommend for the football game?
Oh, yeah. Well, now we're in cold weather, so we should be drinking brown ales, stouts. Old Milwaukee, where are you coming from?
Say it.
We're going to take you on a tour and educate you.
I don't know anything about beers. I'm sorry.
So Bell's makes a great beer. Bell's out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. They have Bell's Best Brown. That's what I would suggest. Goes great with turkey.
Nice. All right. I will check that out.
Gobble, gobble. And every Friday through Sunday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until New Year's Eve, Wild Lights is happening at the Detroit Zoo.
This I did last year. This was fantastic. So, I highly recommend this. I got to check this out.
One more thing. Black Friday Marketplace, Charles Wright Museum, Arts and Craft Children's Workshop. You should go check that out. And that's it, man. That's
All
it.
right. So, any other Thanksgiving beer recommendations? I got to get a couple, right? I got to get a couple Michigan-based
Well,
beers.
I'll give you an event recommendation, which is my company, Motor City Brew Tours. We're doing something we haven't done before. We're doing a Black Friday brewery walk-in tour in Royal Oak. We're going to hit 4 breweries for tours, tastings, some pizza. It's going to be awesome. I'm almost sold out.
Nice. When does that start?
That's on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Starts at Royal Oak Brewery, just off 4th Street.
11:30 a.m.
That's right.
Getting it in early.
It's day drinking, baby.
Nice.
Okay, what goes good with sweet potato pie?
Sweet potato pie?
Wait, what's...
Or pumpkin. Oh, yeah.
What do you eat? Sweet potato pie? Is that part of your Thanksgiving?
That's what I eat on Thanksgiving. I don't mess with pumpkin pie, man. I
Really?
don't do that. Pumpkin pie is whack.
I've heard this. So this actually came up. When I interviewed Carmen Harlan, they were talking before the interview about the different dishes that that black people have with Thanksgiving versus. So I got to ask, the green bean casserole.
No? We don't do that. We don't eat coleslaw with raisins in it. I don't know. I mean, come on. It's soul food, man. It's baked macaroni, not that creamy, crafty type of crap. It's baked macaroni with 3 cheeses. If you don't have it, matter of fact, if you don't have a woman or a person that's making that food that has a jiggly arm, It's not good. I wouldn't eat it.
Is there a mac and cheese beer that we should try?
Not really. Yeah.
But what would go well with mac and cheese?
Not in the mac and cheese, but with it.
A red ale.
Oh.
So anybody who makes a red ale.
All right.
All right. I think we're on to something, man.
We're going to find out what beers you got to have for your Thanksgiving.
Sweet potato pie beer?
Yeah, what's a sweet potato pie beer?
There's definitely breweries that have made sweet potato ales.
Really?
Yeah, it's usually something you'd see at a beer festival where they're trying to do really experimental one-offs. I'm not. It might be Shorts Brewing that's done it, but I'm usually a little drunk when I'm seeing that at a beer festival, so I can't always recall. But it'd definitely be something a little exotic.
All right, I'll try that then.
This is the deep. This is the deep. This is the deep brief.
All right, we're here with Steve Johnson. He is the owner and founder of Motor City Brew Tours, also the author of Detroit Beer, A History of Brewing in the Motor City. And tell me the difference between your two podcasts here, because you've got two.
I've got two. That does make me seem real important when you say it like that.
It does. It makes you seem, yeah.
As
I'm a
both
little
as some
jealous.
guy in his room who came up with two titles.
Right.
So earlier this year, a buddy of mine out of Lansing named Paul Starr, he runs a company called I'm a Beer Hound and produces beer festivals in the middle of the state. Him and I have been friends for a long time. We've been kicking around doing our old podcast together where him and I are shooting the breeze kind of like the two of you are doing right now. So we created Two Beers In. And we have another friend, and he's got a remote setup with two mics and a little iPhone recorder. And we set that up remotely at different breweries, and we meet every other month, and we tape two 30-minute segments back to back. And the premise is we don't start till we drink 2 pints of beer.
This sounds dangerous.
Because everything's a lot funnier after you're a couple beers in.
For you or for the audience?
Well, we think it's funny. The audience may not think it's funny.
As a comedian, we always tell people, if you drink more, this stuff sounds funny.
Don't you think you get a better crowd? Don't you think the later crowd's a little better than the earlier crowd?
That would be no.
Oh, okay.
Because they're more than 2 pints in. They're more like a bucket or a barrel, however that stuff comes.
you both must have to learn how to do crowd control, though. How to deal with somebody who's, whether it's in a comedy club or on a tour,
Oh, definitely. Lots of crowd control practice because I'm doing on tours, I'm doing lots of herding cattle.
Yeah.
Like last night I was doing which we were talking about this off air before we started, I had a bachelor party on a Sunday, it was kind of midday. But they were drinking like it was Friday at midnight, it seemed like. So they were having a good time. So it was a lot of managing expectations.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything about that sounds dangerous. A bachelor party on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, when they reached out to me, I'm like, are you sure that's what you want to do?
Yeah, they must not have to go to work the next day.
Well, their wives are all shopping, so they can just get blottoed.
Yeah.
And, they can go home and say, hey, you made us do this.
You mentioned the beer festivals. I mean, do you do a lot of the beer festival circuit?
Yeah, we run bus transportation to about 4 beer festivals a year. So a lot of the ones that are tied to the Michigan Brewers Guild, which would be kind of the nonprofit group for the beer industry here in Michigan, and they put on a summer, a fall, a winter, and they do one up in the UP even. And we run buses to some of those and a few other smaller ones as well, where we handle the transportation to and from and usually have your ticket bundled into it. It's a safe way to get back and forth to a beer festival. A lot of fun, a lot of stories coming out of beer festivals.
I'll take one. What do you got?
All right, I got a good one. At the height of doing beer festival transportation about 4 years ago, when it was really good for that part of the business, I ran 4 buses in one day up to Grand Rapids, end of February for the Winter Beer Fest. Sold out event, 8,000 people at this festival. So it's a big deal. So a lot of managing you're using every friend you can and you're throwing them on buses and just saying, can you please just count people and make it all work, right? So we get there, a lot of stress, I'm kind of nervous. And my best friend ever, my friend Jeff, he's next to me inside the beer festival. First time he's ever gone to something like this, right? And he's talking game, just like, good old friends do. So we go up to this booth. And the way it works at a beer festival is you're given tokens, and you put a token in there, and they give you a sample of beer. It's pretty simple.
I love that. I'm all about that.
So I go up to this booth. I can't even think of the name of the brewery. It doesn't matter. And I go up and I put my token in, and I got a sample. And then my buddy comes up, and then he says, blah, blah, and then he says, Motor City Brew Tours after it. Just nonchalant, right? The guy behind the counter goes, "Oh my God, are you the guy that runs Motor City Brew Tours?" And he literally opens up the thing that has the tokens in it, takes the token out, hands it back to me, and goes, "If I knew that was you, I never would have taken your token."
Look at that.
And then I turn around to my buddy and I go, "See, I'm a big deal."
I'm kind of a big deal.
You just go hashtag
Yeah.
swag.
I clearly probably said that a little more graphically, but regardless, I kept saying that the rest of that day. And every time I see my buddy, I'm constantly like bringing that story up. Like, you realize I'm a big deal, right? Which I clearly am not, but it was really funny when it happened.
Does that happen though? Do you have breweries that reach out to you? They want to be on the tours, or they want to?
Definitely, yeah. That's a perk of running a business that you've had since 2009 is that we've gone to a lot of breweries. Your name gets passed around, and breweries are interested in getting a chance to, have new customers come in groups of, typically we're trying to be 20 to 40 people on a bus tour.
Right.
So that's a real quick pop of people where you can really promote your brand to them. And I've learned to do it in a pretty controlled way. Once they learn that I am not a drunken mess of people that I'm bringing in, they're excited about that. It's cool.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, look, you've also got this talk coming up, right? It's the free Detroit beer history talk that's happening at Liberty Street Brewing in Plymouth.
Yeah, November 30th at 7 p.m. We'll be on the upstairs portion of Liberty Street, and we'll have a private 1-hour free beer history talk. It's actually a dual talk with myself and then a counterpart, David Berdalis. He wrote the Ann Arbor beer book, so he's going to do part of his material. I'm going to do part of my material. We're all going to drink some great beers and celebrate some great history in the area.
Well, that's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. So if people want to go on one of your tours, they can go to motorcitybrewtours.com. Can they follow you on social media as well?
Every social media you can name.
Nice.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram for sure. So at Motor City Brew Tours on either of those. Twitter's at MI Beer Tours.
Oh, awesome. Well, Steve, thanks so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
awesome.
it
This
too.
is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D.
Breathe.
All right, Mike, that's another show right there.
Dude, listen, each show has gotten better and better, and we're kind of outstanding at this. I don't know what you talking into microphones. I think we're pretty good at this.
Yeah, we can do that for a living.
Interview was a great. Carmen Harlan was outstanding. Loved the interview with Steve and talking about beer. I don't even drink beer, but now I think I might imbibe.
We're gonna go take a tour. You're gonna learn all about beer. You're gonna totally be into it.
I trust you.
Yeah, you've just been drinking the wrong beer your whole life. It's easy to fix.
I'm just saying, man.
All right. Well, look, I, of course, have to get your answer to my pop quiz. We'll do that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to say thank you to all of our guests. Like you said, Steve Johnson of Motor City Brew Tours, Philip Simpson, and Donna Jackson. They've got that great exhibit that's over there at the Baltimore Gallery. Go check it out. Only there till the end of the month. But Politics on Posters is absolutely fantastic. And Carmen Harlan, the legend. How cool was it that she would sit down with us and talk to us about the parade?
I think I've always thought Carmen Harlan was cool. I met her many moons ago at a movie theater. She and her husband, they were walking out. I was walking in, and I was starstruck. And I don't get starstruck. I mean, I look at me every day in the mirror. So
builds up your tolerance.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
I don't know if you know this. We are her first podcast. Yeah.
Yes. That should give us at least another 10 trillion listeners.
Of course, she doesn't. I don't know if she knows how to listen to this. I'll have to send her instructions. But we are her first podcast. So thank you,
Ms. Harlan.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on the show. Also want to say thanks to Renegado, to Jag, to James Clausen.
Him too.
They all make this happen. By the way, if you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe in wherever you get your favorite podcast. Places like Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, whatever it is. And leave a review while you're there. That helps other people find the show. Also, you know what helps other people find the show?
What's that?
Share it on social media.
Please share it.
Just if you're enjoying this podcast, let other people know. Post it on Facebook, post it on Twitter. Take a photo of something on Instagram and post it and say, by the way, I also like the debrief. I don't know. Can you do that with Instagram?
I think we're repping Detroit and everything around Detroit very, very well. And I would appreciate if you all just share it. get one friend and then have that friend share it as well.
Yeah,
let's grow this thing.
That's the way that you can really support the show. We, of course, are The Debrief Detroit on Facebook. We are at The Debrief on Twitter. We are The Debrief on Instagram. The website is thedebriefdetroit.com. If you sign up for our email list, we will send you a list of everything that's going on in the city every week. And if you have a venue or you're an event producer, you want to make sure that we talk about you on the show, you can send your announcements to press@thedebriefdetroit.com. Add us to your press release list. And finally, if you want to, you can text the word Detroit to the number 444-999. All right, Mike, let's get an answer to this pop quiz.
Let's get it in.
My homework that you gave me was about the big train station in downtown Detroit. And I came up with 3 statements, 2 of which are true, 1 of which is false. You have to identify the false one.
Got it.
All right, here it is. Number 1, when the building opened, it was the tallest railway station in the world.
Okay.
Number 2, in 1936, a massive fire broke out on the 4th floor when a burglar knocked over a candle.
Okay.
And number 3, in 2009, the Detroit City Council voted to demolish the train station. Which one of those is not true?
It's a very tall building, so I think the first one's true. Let's see. So the burglar and the city council. I'm going to say the falsehood would be the candle.
Yeah, you are correct.
Ching ching. Because I knew that. I remember the city council. They were talking for years about tearing it down.
Well, and this is because, like we said, this became sort of a symbol
porn.
of Detroit's blight and the fact that there were no windows there until Mike Duggan finally came along and said, "Look, dude, you got to put windows in." So the Detroit City Council actually voted to demolish the train station. It wasn't really clear whether they had the authority to do that.
No.
Whether they could come along and say, you got to knock it down.
It's the city council.
Right. But they tried. So, yeah, all right. Well, I am the new guy here still. I am learning everything about Detroit and the surrounding area. You have some more homework for me? What can I go learn about this week?
Yes, Seth. In honor of Thanksgiving and my beloved Detroit Leos, who always play on Thanksgiving, I need information on the greatest Leo of all. That would be one Barry Sanders.
There's a Thanksgiving connection with Barry Sanders?
You have to go and find out.
All right. You're taking advantage of the fact that I know very little about sports here in general.
Well, once you discover this, you'll be happy.
All right.
He's my favorite.
I will look into it, and we'll talk next week.
The Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.